Welcome to Biafra Battle Cry TV. We are loyalists to IPOB leader, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Biafra is our religion and here is where we worship.
Sir, I really want to appreciate you for what you are doing in Enugu State. Unlike the disaster we are seeing in Enugu State, you are doing very, very well. Coming to Enugu State, we don't need this thing for us to see what we are doing. In terms of infrastructural development, I speak in Enugu State. I know how Enugu State used to be. We are doing very, very well. And sir, yesterday, you told us we are during the opening section that the judicial are taking their money as at lynching. I personally carried out investigation, and one of the judicial officers told me that they are not receiving their money as you claim. And I noticed it that one of your magistrates, who happens to be my friend, used a car to court. They said that they don't have a car. And I was asking, how do they have their money and they don't even have a car? Secondly, sir, they are still at home in Enugu State. And from Ogbete now, nobody is there. And the essence of that is injustice being suffered by the people of Southeast. So you are doing well. You are doing well. I can give it to you. Please, I want you to intensify effort. Let them and come be released so that you have peace. Thank you and God bless you.
My name is Leighton Izide from the Post-Colonialism Bar. You have taken time beyond your lifting up. Groups have taken time to wheel out to much of what you're doing in several sectors. Or as a friend, charity begins at home. I'm a leader of standalone judicial. I want to know, there are some governments that build houses for judges, buy cars for judges. Out of they take a little of what belongs to them and do all of these things for them. So I want you to tell your colleagues, what's the extent of financial autonomy of the Enugu State judiciary? Thank you.
I'm a senior advocate of Nigeria. Just one little question. The governor. I come to Enugu very often, so I'm not a stranger at all to Enugu. But it will be difficult for me to deny that I have not seen some ground-breaking changes. To do that will even be sinful. I don't want to be a sinner. Now, the question I want to ask, based on this theme of transformational leadership, a theme I have written extensively on, how are you able, or have you been able, in a highly politicized environment, an environment that is shark infested by political buccaneers, in an environment where there is more politicking than governance? How have you been able to navigate through like Momopa, who we are told discovered the river Niger at Kainji, even though it let the people there drink the water? How have you been able to?
Start with the first speaker. The first is on the issue of sit at home. When we came into government from 2 years ago, the situation we met on ground is one where everybody, whether you wanted or not, you were compelled to sit at home. And if you did not, it means that you're going to have a violent attack either on your property or on yourself. So that was the situation we met on ground. But I can tell you today, even in the Ogbete, we just made reference to, those who want to come to work, who want to trade on Monday, trade there in peace and in safety. And of course, you're a lawyer. You're not going to compel somebody who, due to his own, some political undertone or his political leaning, decides to stay at home. It is not my job to compel that person to come to work. But I can assure you for free that if you do want to come to work on Sunday and operate in a safe and secure environment, you're free to do so, and it's happening everywhere in Enugu. And today is Monday, we don't need to, you can just do your survey and do your assessment. That's on that. For us, with the judiciary, given our background, we take the judiciary very seriously. Okay? We respect the autonomy of the judiciary. And everything that we do with the judiciary, we go through the budgetary process. And once those items are captured in our budget, we implement them to the latter. They actually get their funds from the state consolidated revenue funds. And that's what happens here. Okay, and they determine what they have budgeted. So if indeed there is issue of vehicles, they need to, of course, by now we have started the budget review committee is already set up. And the cost circulars have all gone out. So it's expected that all the various ministries, all the different arms of government will be able to bring in their budget, and it will be debated. Once those items are captured in the budget, they are then implemented from a frontline revenue position. And I think that addresses that. The next question was on, so I think he talked about the judicial, so we've addressed that. Now, so I'm sure some of you followed my position about Nnamdi Kanu the late day I was sworn in. I guess my first visit to the president was the discussion on Nnamdi Kanu, and I came out and granted an interview about what I had just discussed with the president. So I still believe that the right thing to do is to release Nnamdi Kanu, and hopefully that will happen soon. Then again, we do not, just as I mentioned in my opening remarks, leadership is not rocket science. First of all, it starts with imagination. And you have to talk about, once you're able to imagine, looking at the trends and looking at the pattern of growth we inherited, if that had been what guided our projections or our vision, then we wouldn't even be where we are today or even getting close. We felt that even though that model of growth may have served us to where we are today, but in order for us to build on what we have, to get to where we want to take our people, where we believe our people ought to be, we needed to think outside what we were already familiar with. So let's take the growth projection. If we look at our trend, our growth rate had been it oscillated between 2 and 4% in the last 20 years. And we came in and said, we're going to grow the economy sevenfold. We're going to grow it from $4.4 billion to $30 billion. That in itself is disruptive, because we're talking about 27% compound annual growth rate. So how do you reconcile that? you could have the critics or the naysayer challenge that, but we then immediately added that we're going to deploy disruptive innovation. Disruptive in a positive sense. It means we have to interrogate the status quo. We have to basically do things differently and do a quantum leap, which is largely what we have done, because we cannot build the infrastructures we're talking about if we don't have a revenue model that supports that. So we needed to also even disrupt that model. We said we want to achieve a 0% headcount rate in our poverty index. That also meant that we are moving from 58% poverty headcount rate that we inherited to 0%. The trend did not support that. So it also means that we needed to deploy disruptive strategies, okay, to achieve that. And then we want to make Enugu State the preferred destination. Those goals are in themselves intertwined. If you want to grow your economy, you need to be able to, on your own as government, you are unable to achieve that. That means you need to attract private sector. And in order for you to bring in private sector, there are fundamentals that you must have, and which is why a lot of the projects we're executing, they are all connecting the dots towards leading us to that $30 billion economy, towards ensuring that we achieve a 0% headcount. And for us, this is just the beginning, because we're just laying the foundation. And there are still a whole lot to come, where, $30 billion economy is not a child's play. And we understand what it takes in order to achieve that. That's why we're targeting achieving a 3 million visitors in 2027. And we're not just pushing that into existence. We're also putting in place the structure to attract that number of visitors. And so we're pushing. We haven't done anything crazy in terms of the things we have accomplished. One of the things we're also very excited about is what we're doing in the education sector. I mean, you tend to see the conference center, your site where it's beautiful, it's nice. But the truth is that the real funds we're spending as a state is going to education, it's going to healthcare. 55% of our total budget is dedicated to social services. And that is where we see this poverty thing, how we can lift our people out of the poverty pit. Building 7,000 classrooms within 2 years, not just classrooms, but making sure that each classroom is equipped with modern digital facilities. So it is thinking outside the box. Thank you.
Wow. Only person to preach Biafra to you and you will listen are those who are under our central command, IPOB, of course, with Radio Biafra. Anything else up on Dioshika happen. I must warn you. These are vultures and they are vagabonds that are very poor and wretched. They think Biafra is the means through which and by which they can survive. These are wretched people and failures in their field of endeavor. Don't say I did not warn you. Don't say we never warned you.
Welcome viewers to Biafra Battle Cry TV. Biafra is our religion, and here in Biafra is where we worship. We are loyalists to the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. We should be careful and distant ourselves from Fulani double agent and commander-in-chief of gunmen in exile, behind the flag of our oppressor. Thanks for watching.